सब शुरू कर दीजिए.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. And this is the second day of the conference, National International Conference, which is being organized by IIPS. So this session starts. We have actually 5 papers are scheduled, but we have 4 papers. This title of the paper is Spatial Pattern of the Pandemic. And I think it's very interesting. This entire session, the entire conference is basically focused on the pandemic and on various dimensions of pandemic. So this is the spatial pattern. This session is specifically on the spatial pattern of the pandemic. And I hope all these papers are interesting. So look forward to hear the papers, and I welcome Dr. Aparajita, my colleague, and Dr. Kausalendra.
Sir, 1 minute. Sir, 1 minute. I'll just,
Yeah, please, Dr. Manoj.
Yeah, sorry to there was a connection problem. So I just want to introduce our chairman, discussant, and rapporteur. Our what you call chairperson today for the today's session is Dr. Kailash Chandra Das. He is professor in the Department of Migration and Urban Studies. His area of interest is in migration and urbanization, international migration, consequence of migration, and other fields as well. He's been involved in other fields as well. And talking about the discussant, she is Dr. Aparajita Chattopadhyay, professor in the Department of Development Studies. Her areas of interest is in development, gender, and in aging. Our rapporteur is today's session is Dr. Kaushalendra Kumar. He is assistant professor in the Department of Public Health and Mortality Studies, and one of the coordinator, and his research areas in the neonatal mortality, child mortality and neonatal mortality, and he is one of the coordinator of our gender equity and health. Thank you very much. Now I request Chairperson Dr. Das to take over, and please give the timing for each of the session, and please look at the timing as well. We have to end at a certain period. Please do that because the next session has to be started. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj. Without wasting time, we'll start. So we'll start the paper as per the sequence. Please remember that the entire session is 1 hour and 30 minutes, out of which 10 minutes is already gone. So each presenter will get 10 minutes. Is okay, 10 minutes, and we have some certain time for discussion at the end, so that is better. So each presenter will get 10 minutes to present. So I request first the first paper. Maybe Syed Nihal is present. Syed Nihal, I request. Mr. Syed Nihal. Syed Nihal, yes.
What is your madam?
Syed Nihal,
Okay.
please. Wait. You'll get 10 minutes. I'm counting your, I'm keeping your time. Mr. Syed Nihal, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I'm Anjali, the co-author of this paper.
Okay, carry on. 10 minutes only. You have only 10 minutes. Anjali.
Sir, Saif Nihal is unwell and hospitalized, so I am presenting on his behalf.
Okay, carry on.
Changes were made last night, so I may not be able to explain as better as we could, but I am beginning with this. The topic of our paper is an assessment of COVID-19 strategies for selected states of India, lessons learned for future pandemics. Sir, I'm unable to change this. Yes. So as we all know that there is increase in cases all over the world and India, and even presently the cases are rising steadily. And India being the most populous second most populous country of the world with diverse geographic, demographic, and socio-economic conditions, witnessed severe challenges due to the pandemic. And Government of India, along with state government, has taken several strategies to prevent the adverse impact of COVID-19. And it is clearly understood by the policy makers that the impact is not uniformly distributed, and therefore several containment zone hotspot areas were specified. And the differences is not only restricted to the spatial distribution, but also to the diverse socio-economic, demographic, and epidemiological characteristics. Literatures have also identified that the pandemic is not uniformly spread out, and the vulnerability of COVID-19 is higher among lower socio-economic strata, older age group, and persons suffering from chronic diseases. Hence, there are 3 objectives of this paper. First is to critically analyze how well COVID-19 response model has emphasized socio-economic and health-related vulnerability in these selected states of India. Second, identifying the strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats of this response model. And finally, identifying the lessons learned for the future pandemic. We begin our study with understanding that the COVID-19 is not uniformly distributed using the literatures. Further, we selected our states in two levels. Firstly, we divided the whole country in three regions, that is empowered action group states, non-empowered action group states, and northeastern states. And among all these three regions, we have selected one state each having highest overall COVID vulnerability index according to Acharya 2020 paper. After that, we analyze the secondary data, government reports to understand the strategies and do the SWOT analysis. This is our selected states are Madhya Pradesh from EAG and Telangana from non-EAG and Nagaland from northeastern states. This is state profile of these states. Due to time constraint, I will not stop here. I would only like to highlight that the socioeconomic characteristics are vulnerable in Madhya Pradesh as compared to other two states, and health expenditure is better in Nagaland but poor in Madhya Pradesh and Nagaland. These are the sub-center PHC and CHC distribution. Now, COVID scenario. In Madhya Pradesh, it has the lowest recovery ratio among all the EAG states except Uttarakhand, and it has the highest case fatality ratio. And Madhya Pradesh is below national average in case higher in is above national average in case fatality ratio and lower in recovery ratio as compared to other two states, which is Nagaland and Telangana. Madhya Pradesh and Nagaland has lower testing as compared to Telangana, which has higher testing. This is a brief of COVID response model. These three states have followed the government guidelines about the lockdowns and prohibition of social gathering. Along with that, Madhya Pradesh had telemedicine unit in 51 districts and social security schemes, and then food provision. Similarly, Nagaland also has free bus services for stranded migrants, COVID care centers, and Telangana also provided cash and ration relief to migrant workers. Spitting was prohibited and bases were provided to all the workers. This will be seen in detail while doing the SWOT analysis. Now going on to the vulnerability index, we can see that the Nagaland has highest vulnerability, close to 1 in terms of socioeconomic vulnerability. Telangana has highest in terms of epidemiological vulnerability, and Madhya Pradesh has highest in terms of vulnerability due to housing and hygiene condition, followed by socioeconomic vulnerability. So here we can see that all these three regions have different kind of vulnerabilities. So how government have addressed these three vulnerabilities, we will see. So in Madhya Pradesh, where socioeconomic and housing and hygiene condition and availability of health care are vulnerable, we found that socioeconomic vulnerability was addressed through measures for tribal, migrants, and poor population, but a lot more was required. Epidemiological vulnerability included telemedicine system, and for ability of healthcare, PPE kits and 95 masks, and ASHA workers were allotted, fever clinics were made. Similarly, in Telangana, epidemiological vulnerability is highest, but unfortunately, government ordered all the private hospitals to stop all the surgeries and procedures and shift resources to the COVID patient. This severely affected the non-COVID patients. For socioeconomic vulnerability, again, ration and cash reliefs were given and healthcare was ensured. In Nagaland, for socioeconomic vulnerability, homeless and poor migrants were provided relief measures, and food items were provided at doorsteps for beneficiaries. Then for demographic vulnerability, which is quite high in Nagaland, government ordered that person above 65 age will work from home. And for epidemiological morbidity, telehealth system and app known as NISTHA was promoted. Now moving on to SWOT analysis, the strengths of this program were firstly, the guidelines and support by the central government. National level training were provided, nationwide lockdown protocols were given, and national migrant information system was provided for better communication. Then if we look at the existing health infrastructure as a strength, we found that Nagaland and Telangana has followed IPHS norms for PHC and CHC and sub-center respectively. Then ratio of government hospital beds to per thousand population were above national average in both these states. On the other hand, for Madhya Pradesh, there were mobile medical units, and this was also present in Nagaland. The existing public health expenditure was quite high in Nagaland as compared to other states. Then voluntary supports were provided by ANMA and Reliance Industries at the corporate responsibilities. Committees and teams were formulated on all these 3 states, and other welfare measures were taken in all these states for vulnerable population. Now, weakness. Existing health infrastructure were very vulnerable in case of the Madhya Pradesh, where PHC, CHC, SC all were below the stabilized now. In Telangana, there is no PHC and no biomedical units. In Nagaland, there is no medical college, and the sub-center were below the stabilized norms. Then the existing public health expenditure is low in both Madhya Pradesh and Telangana, and there has been inadequacy in addressing the vulnerabilities, as I mentioned earlier about the Telangana, about epidemiological vulnerability, and low testing in both the states, Madhya Pradesh and Telangana. Opportunities. Several innovative measures were taken in all these states through introduction of several apps, telehealth system, point of sale swipe machine in Nagaland, video conferencing in detention centers. Then health infrastructure was strengthened in all these 3 states. There were scope for future research was emphasized, as in Madhya Pradesh survey was undertaken. Then in Telangana, migrants were counted, and employment opportunities were also opened, as in Nagaland, retired medical personnel were requested to join back, and in Telangana, several vacancies were opened for health personnel. Along with this, there were improvements in social behavior through ban on sale of liquor and ban on crackers, spitting in public space. Now, last one is threats. There is low digital access and knowledge, which was one of the threat in all the states. In Madhya Pradesh, it is lower than national average. And the existing vulnerabilities has emphasized further worsened the COVID-19 impact. There was economic slowdown, which has had impact on general public, and introduction of new variant of COVID. And finally, the other key areas like locust attack, monsoon season, African swine flu, fever, these were having impact in diverting the attention from COVID to other areas. This is metrics of SWOT analysis. Now, what are the lessons learned? So here we see that there is a need for understanding the regional variation. A strength of one state is a weakness of another state. So a regional variation exists in terms of vulnerabilities and the strengths, weakness, opportunities. So attention is required to understand these vulnerability, these regional variation. Along with that, there should be improvement in health infrastructure and human resources. There should be increased penetration of digital technology, and along with this, telehealth system, online counseling services, and research activities should be promoted. I would like to conclude with that there is a need for region-specific strategies for combating the pandemic, as each region have their different needs and vulnerabilities. The EAG states of India have higher socioeconomic vulnerabilities. On the other hand, non-EAG states have higher demographic and epidemiological vulnerabilities. Therefore, one policy for whole the nation may not work. But at the same time, this doesn't eliminate the need for national government guidelines in providing directions to the states. So, emphasis on regional policies through community need assessment for addressing special dynamics of characteristics of population is much needed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anjali. In time, you are in time. We have not exceeded. So we'll first present all the papers, then we'll have a discussion. So you can wait, right? Okay. You can just withdraw the sharing. Okay. Withdraw the sharing. Yeah. We'll go for the second presentation. I think second presentation is Mr. Prakash. Who is the second presentation? Gyanendra. Yeah. There is a Prakash and Dr. Jagan Kumar, Jagan Kumar, R. Jagan Kumar. Okay. Mr. Prakash, who is presenting? Prakash is presenting, or Jagan Kumar is presenting? Who is presenting?
Prakash, sir.
Prakash. Okay, Prakash, carry on. Carry on, Prakash.
Yes. Okay, sir. Good afternoon to all. I thank the IAPS for giving me this opportunity. And my topic is on epidemic vulnerability mapping based on demographic and household census data. And this study has been carried out for a district in Tamil Nadu. So we have seen growth in India after 1990s, and this economical setup has been completely modified after the implementation in the new economic setup. It has impacted in social, demographic, and economic forums, and this phenomena has changed the entire setup of urban.
Mr. Prakash, a little bit louder. You are not clear. A little bit louder.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So this change has been witnessed by most of the urban peoples, but whereas in the rural population, it is not completely reached out by the people, and there has been a disparity. And census data has, is providing us enormous data, and this data can be analyzed for multiple purposes. Multiple analysis can be done, and to solve the social and economic problems that we are having. One of such studies is vulnerability mapping for contagious disease outbreak or epidemic vulnerability. And my study is aimed to produce some vulnerability areas of contagious disease or epidemics. It is applicable even to COVID-19 as well. And the study area covers one municipality corporation and 3 municipalities and 507 villages in that district. The approach that I have is GETIS-ARD GI hotspots analysis, which produces hotspots and cold spots. And the study area has revealed the 132 villages in Tiruchirappalli districts are highly vulnerable for the spread of COVID-19 like diseases. And if you can visually show the areas or villages that is vulnerable to the outbreak of diseases, the management or the government can take necessary steps to alleviate the disease outbreak. This is my study area. Data and methodology. The study is carried out with the use of 2011 census data because which is the latest data that we can use it for analysis. And the census of India is providing 2 kinds of data. One is PCA or population enumeration data, which will contain population literacy workers and so on. The second one is socioeconomic data or house listing data. The present study used both of it, and both of the data has been compiled and overlaid with weightages and produced a composite vulnerability map. The role of GIS in analyzing and mapping the census data brings a huge leap in understanding the diseases or epidemics, which will help the planners and policymakers to make decisions. A brief introduction to the hotspot analysis is a statistical mean does not give a kind of the area which is actually affected or the spatial distribution of the area that is being affected or that is going to affect. But that doesn't solve the necessity to produce impactful result. That is why we have taken up this GETIS-ARD GA statistics, which will give the significant villages and the surrounding villages if it is actually being disturbed or actually prone to vulnerability. The result will produce 2 things, 2 Z-scores. One is positive Z-score and the other one is negative Z-score. Positive Z-scores are the larger Z-scores, which are intense clustering for high values, and the negative Z-scores are smaller scores, which will produce the clustering of low values. The census, these are the 6 parameters I have taken from Census of India, which are population density, illiterates, workers, dwelling rooms, household condition, and the household size. So contagious disease will spread on many reasons, but I have taken only 6 conditions which are provided by the Census of India. But like this, there are other conditions also can be taken, but it must be collaborated with the various agencies to produce or to get the necessary data. So as far as Census of India is concerned, it is open to all and anybody can access it at any time. So hence I have used these parameters for my study. So these are my results. So first one is demographic characteristics. The first map is population density. So wherever the density is high, the contagiousness will be high. For this study, I have excluded the Tiruchirappalli municipality corporation because the rest of the areas I considered hard, and probably when I'm taking the population density as a parameter, the ward will be having the higher density when compared with the surrounding villages in the district. So hence I have excluded the municipality and I have included only the villages and the nearby other smaller municipalities. So first one, if you can see, the area that I have marked in white is the municipality corporation, which I have not included. The other surrounding areas has been marked as hotspots, so which are highly vulnerable for the contagiousness or the spread of contagious diseases. So the legend says there has been two important scenarios. One is cold spot, the other one is hot spots, and with varying levels of confidence. We can take all the hot spots as an area where you have to keep your the planning and decision makers alive in order to avoid to alleviate the prone. The second one is illiterates. This is an indirect parameter, and illiterate people will not aware of the contagiousness or how it spreads one human to the other one. So I have taken the illiterates as a parameter. If you see the second map, the down one is the Manapparai Taluk, where a lot of people are illiterate, and which can be a parameter or which can be a factor to spread the disease. And apart from Manapparai, there are parts of villages in Mussoorie Taluk and the Lalgudi Taluk. The third one is workers. Workers, in the sense, I have taken only two parameters, sub-parameters like workers and marginal workers who are traveling for their daily works. So nearby, they travel to the nearby towns and cities for their daily living. So these are the areas which are coming as hotspots for workers who travel. So Tottiyam, Mussoorie, and Lalgudi parts, and a few parts in the Manapparai villages are being marked as hotspots for the spread of disease through workers. The second one is household characteristics, where the housing condition has been considered for this form.
Prakash, your sound is breaking. Your sound is breaking. Hello, Mr. Prakash. Are you able to hear me? Prakash. Yes, are you able to hear me? Continue. Carry on. Carry on. Continue, Prakash. Carry on.
Audible, sir? Okay, sir.
Finished? You're finished? Prakash.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes. Carry on. You carry on. Carry on.
Okay, okay, sir. So second one is livable condition of houses. The most of the livable condition of houses are found in Manapparai and in parts of Mussoorie Taluk. The third one is dilapidated houses, which are not suggested for living, but people are still living in that houses because of their poor economic condition. These villages are mostly found in Tottiyam Taluk and Manapare and parts of Lalgudi villages. The other one is a household, the number of dwelling rooms, which means how many people are living in a room or a house. The first one is no exclusive rooms, which means in a single room, there may be multiple families. This has been used for multiple purposes like household Manapare. The third one is 3 to 4 rooms of houses, which are mostly found in Thurayur and Thiruvarambur and Tiruchirappalli Taluk. The fourth one is 5 rooms and above, which are found in Thurayur, parts of Mussoorie, and parts of Thiruvarambur Taluk. This is household size. Household size in the sense number of people living in a house. The first one is 1 to 4 people living in a house, which are concentrated in Thurayur Taluk, Tottiyam, Manachanallur, Lalgudi. And the household size is 5 to 8 people, which are mostly found in Manapare Taluk. Actually, most of the Manapare villages are having 5 to 8 people in a house, in a single house. The thirdly, household size more than 8 people. Again, is I have taken a simple MCDM criteria weighting method to give weightages and to produce a composite or holistic vulnerability map. It shows there are 132 villages are highly prone for the spread of epidemics or contagious diseases. There are 132 villages. Most of the villages are found in Manapare Taluk. As we have seen, a lot of criteria are falling in Manapare Taluk and the parts of the Lalgudi Taluk, which is marked as hotspot. And thirdly, Thurayur, smaller of Thurayur also hotspot, and some parts of some villages of Thiruvarambur Taluk again being marked as hotspots. There are totally 4 villages with moderate vulnerability, and there are 2 here shows the vulnerable areas for epidemics. The study gives a basic understanding on spatial distribution and clustering of demographic and household data, which associates the vulnerable areas for contagious diseases. With more holistic data and rigorous statistical application, this method could deliver more promising results. The study could be further include many other demographic and housing data like age. It can be included. Housing condition, health condition can be included, and sanitation, hygiene can also be included to handle the to provide a comprehensive. If this map give health department or the people who are working on to alleviate the contagiousness can be benefited at large, and can be the outbreak can be avoided or alleviated. And finally, I thank UGC-SAP too and ICCSR for giving support and assistance. And I also thank my guide for guiding me. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor. Be there. Be there. Don't leave the conference because we will have some discussion at the end after all presentation. Okay. Be there. Don't go. You can now withdraw your presentation. Okay. Share. Withdraw sharing. Yeah. Now we'll go for the third presentation. I think the third presentation is by Shiv Shankar Sahu. Shiv Shankar.
Yes, sir. I am here.
Yeah. Please, Sivasankar.
Yes, sir. How the sharing option is not showing, sir? Okay, okay, okay. I'm sharing, sir.
Now you can say, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Is it visible, sir?
Yeah, it's coming. Yes, it's coming. Yeah, visible. Make it presentable mode.
Yes. Very good afternoon to all. I am Dr. Sivasankar Sahu. It is a joint paper that is migration and informal sector scenario during COVID-19 in Odisha, partial dimension of vulnerability analysis. My co-author is Dr. Sharmishta Singh. So you know that in COVID-19 there are two, there is informal sector and migrant worker have the great devastating things for these particular peoples. So you know that 93% of working population in the informal economy, and out of the informal economy, 95% are in the rural sector and 80% in urban workers. So if you combining all these things, out of 4 are informal worker in the global scenario. And by first week of March 2020, unemployment rate was only 8.7%. Now it is around 25% according to CMI data. Then half of the population in the urban area are migrants, and 1/5 are the interstate migrants. Out of 482 million workers, about 194 million are permanent and semi-permanent migrant workers. There are 15 million short-term migrant workers of temporary and circulating nature, according to Kesari and Bhagat 2012. Generally, in-migration are higher in the developed states like Goa, Haryana, Punjab, Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Karnataka. In low-income group states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Rajasthan, and Odisha reported higher rate of out-migration. So that is the flow chart of informal settlement and informal economy. So how it is poverty-induced migration and migration worker as taken into account when work environment, living environment, then some of the parameters like construction worker, domestic worker, traders, all these things, then some of the aspects like demographic, socio-cultural and economic aspect is very essential to study when you think about informalization in the migrant labor. So I have taken the study of Cuttack and Bhubaneswar slums, and that is the map of Odisha, and it is the slums of Cuttack and Bhubaneswar. So there are the two cities, major city of Odisha. One is the capital city, and another is the trading city of Odisha, that is Cuttack. So you know that in the 2011 there are 450 million migrants in India, and 20 million in 1991. That is 1991 to 2011, the migration is doubled. And also, if you see, ST and SC migrant is less urban oriented as compared to the other community. That is, their basically marginal section are very much city bound. Sorry, not migrated that much manner as compared to others. So here, my objective is to show the livelihood of migrants and informal workers and identify the vulnerability. And methodology are there, and data source basically I've taken from NSS or 60 round, and also primary survey in Cuttack and Bhubaneswar slum. So this is the area where out migration, the people are settled there from one state to other state. So this is the picture, and here the state that is higher out migration. If you see, the Uttar Pradesh is higher. Then this the bar diagram in the high bar diagram are the higher migration, and also West Bengal, Maharashtra, the higher out migration. Then, if you see the regional stream of intersensual migration, then there are some regions that now, if you see, urban to rural migration is increasing from 2001 to 11, and also urban to urban migration increasing rapidly at 15.2 to 22.6, and work and business migration decline from every sector, the rural to rural, rural to urban, urban to rural, all the things are declined from the 2001 to 2011. Then occupation structure of migration, if you see, only maximum things in construction and manufacturing purposes, maximum migration happen in every context, that is the rural and urban sector. Then a scheduled caste and scheduled tribe are more vulnerable, and they are very much associated with construction working. If you see in Odisha case, maximum scheduled caste and scheduled tribes are migrated to other area for brick clean farming and other things, the very vulnerable jobs. So here around 48 half of the migrants from scheduled caste and scheduled tribe are in the basically in the brick clean workers in Odisha. In the out migration of Odisha, if you see maximum migration to Chhattisgarh, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat. So that is the map and that is the diagram. So you may have some, we all have query why Odisha people go to the Chhattisgarh, because maximum the people are engaged in the brick clean farming and other activity. So maximum tribal section of Odisha is very big, though it is very adjacent to Odisha. So maximum people are go to this particular place. So this is the unorganized sector scenario in Indian context. In Odisha context also the high percentage of people in unorganized sector, the data shows. Then the trend of informal sector in Odisha is declining. India, if you see in the Indian case, is also declining. But informal in the formal sector and formal employment, if you see the little bit increasing in the time period of 2004 to 2011-12. Also, it is a good sign. And percentage distribution of informal sector in Odisha, and maximum population is engaged in the basically in the self-employment in the employment in the agriculture, the 57.4%. The data is derived from the calculated from 60 round NSS survey. And in the urban Odisha, same cases, if you see self-employment, different unorganized sector also 76%. And these population are very much vulnerable, and casual labor in non-agriculture sector also very vulnerable in the both in rural and urban sector. Then here, the regional share of industrial activity, if you see the informal sector, maximum population is, if you see the region-wise, in the coastal region, maximum informal worker in real estate activities and manufacturing activity. But in the southern part, the tribal belt of Odisha, maximum is employment is informal worker in the basic. If you see the financial insurance, because nowadays the underdeveloped belt, maximum bank insurance established to provide the loans and all these things. So here some of the maybe increases in particular in the urban activities. This is the urban sector. Then the condition of informal sector of urban Odisha. So maximum people in the southern Odisha informal sector, there is 48.2%. Odisha divided into three major regions: coastal, southern, and northern region. Southern region is very much associated with one underdeveloped region, as all many data, many literature are showing, and as compared to coastal region. So here 48.2% of the total population in engaged in informal sector in urban Odisha are poor, whereas coastal Odisha around is very less sector worker are poor. That is the poverty scenario. In northern Odisha, somehow in between the southern and coastal region, and maximum poverty is seen in the construction and transport sector, and construction worker poverty is very much high. If you see in the same southern Odisha, that is 63% poor, and transport sector also 77% of the poor in the southern Odisha. So here inequality among in the rate of poverty also it is very high, whereas coefficient of variation so is a high coefficient of variation. That means there is a great regional inequality in case of poverty in Odisha. So COVID-19 impact, basically these people these are vulnerable section. Basically COVID-19 is a highly affect this particular people both in the psychological, health, and economic condition are disrupted. It is it will also create the hunger situation and health disaster. Then also you know that the people who migrated to Gujarat and other area, we have already know that in the newspaper that in a particular 10 by 10 room many ODI people, about 20 to 30 ODI people staying in a very self basis. That's why it is also very disastrous condition. There are no accommodation facility there, no fooding facility there, no insurance is there. So that things have now comes out when pandemic situation prevails. So here, what are the suggestions? Basically, these are the major scenario by which we see the sector, informal sector condition and the migrant worker condition. Then the migrant worker, in case of particular the poor state like Odisha needs a very urgent attention. And the cottage industry, basically, you know, the Odisha, the belt is very much the high potential development of small scale and the cottage industry and the local resource development industry, local resource development. So that thing should be get maximum importance by which local people can absorb and their economy will grow, the tribal economy will grow. So that things, then incentive to agriculture and small medium scale industry, urgent need of subsidization of food and all the things they will consider on the National Food Security Act, and minimum transfer of money also essential, and also the accommodation the urban area for the migrant people. It is very important. So there should be a proper accommodation for the migrant workers. They should be hygienic and all the things should be there by which the rental accommodation, the proper rental accommodation there by which they will not get such type of health hazards. So these are some of the things need to be urgent need of the hour. So the pandemic has also learned us some many lessons, and many hidden truth are comes out in the context of pandemic. So also need a proper database is very important for the migrant and informal worker. There are no such database. And now Odisha government has trying to accumulate all the data of the origin migrants worker in informal sector. So then after to do research and policy making for this particular vulnerable section that migrants and informal worker. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sivasankar. Have you finished there? Sivasankar, you have finished now? Dr. Sivasankar, you have finished now?
Hello.
Yeah, Dr. Sivasankar, are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Have you finished?
Yes.
You have finished. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Some network issue is there.
No problem. No, you can now withdraw. Withdraw the presentation. Stop sharing. Okay. But be there. There is some discussion questions at the end. Be
I
there.
have stopped sharing. I have.
Be there. Don't leave the. Yeah. Be there. Okay. Thank you. Be there. There is some discussion at the end.
I have stopped sharing, sir.
Okay. We'll go for the last presentation, fourth presentation. Who is the fourth presenter? I am not able to see the name.
Yes, sir. Gyanendra Singh Chauhan.
Gyanendra, please carry on. Gyanendra. Please carry on.
Yes, sir. Is it visible, sir?
Yes. Completely
Yes,
visible.
sir, yes.
Carry on.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gyanendra Singh Chauhan, a student of MA 4th semester, Department of Geography, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. Sir, the sound is reverberating, sir.
Sorry?
The sound is
Hello?
reverberating, sir.
Just a minute, 1 minute.
Can you now say?
Now share the screen, sir.
Gyanendra, please share the screen. Gyanendra.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yanandra, your screen is not showing. Please share. Yeah, make it full screen present. So full screen
Yes.
present. Yeah. Now it's perfect. Carry on.
So the topic of my presentation is geographical analysis of COVID-19, its relationship with socio-economic conditions in India. Novel coronavirus, also known as severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, emerged in late December 2019 in Wuhan City, China, and caused a typical pneumonia called COVID-19. The disease is characterized by fever, cough, etc. A WHO report claimed that the SARS-CoV-2 could be detected in the environmental samples collected from the seafood market in Wuhan, China. Available evidences strongly support that the SARS-CoV-2 was derived from bats. So there are three objectives of the study. First, to find out the spatial variations of the spread of corona cases and corona deaths. Second, to analyze the level of socio-economic conditions. Third, to examine the relationship between corona cases, corona deaths, and selected socio-economic variables. Database and methodology. So the present work is entirely based on secondary sources of data collected from Census of India 2011, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Center for Disease Diagnostics, Economics and Policy, Journal of Medical Virology, and World Health Organization. So in this analysis, a set of 20 socio-economic variables have been taken into account to analyze the geographical variations in the level of socio-economic conditions in India. The relation of socio-economic variables with total corona cases and total corona deaths has been established with the calculation of Z-scores and composite Z-scores. Maps have been prepared using ArcGIS 10.7. So this is the formula for Z-score, Z equal to X minus X bar divided by sigma, where Z stands for standardized value, X stands for actual value, X bar stands for mean value, and sigma stands for the standard deviation. So after calculating the Z-score, composite score was calculated, which is the summation of all the Z-scores divided by the number of variables. The positive values relating to the state's Z-score explain high level of socio-economic development, and negative values indicate the low level of socio-economic development in the study area. So this is the list of the variables of socio-economic development. Study area. India as a whole has been chosen as the study area for the present research work, and the boundary of a state or union territory has been considered as the smallest unit of study. With reference to the census year 2011, India comprises of 28 states and 7 union territories. Results and discussion. So this is the table for the Z-score of total corona cases in various states and union territories. So all the states have been categorized into 3 categories. 19 states and union territories having Z-score below minus 0.30 are considered to be having low corona cases. 10 states and union territories having Z-score between minus 0.30 and 0.74 are considered to be having medium corona cases. 6 states and union territories having Z-score above 0.74 are considered to be having high corona cases. So this can be seen from this map that states like Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Delhi are the states having high corona cases. States like Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, West Bengal, Bihar, Assam, these are the states having medium total corona cases. States like Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Jharkhand, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, these are the states having low number of corona cases. This is the table for the Z-score of total corona deaths in various states and union territories. So all these states have been categorized into 3 categories. 21 states and union territories having Z-score below minus 0.24 are considered to be having low corona deaths. 13 states and union territories having Z-score between minus 0.24 and 0.90 are considered to be having medium corona deaths. Only one state, that is Maharashtra, has Z-score above 0.90 and has recorded higher corona deaths. So this can be seen from this map that Maharashtra is the only state which has recorded high corona deaths. States like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, they have recorded medium corona deaths. States like Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, whole Northeast, Sikkim, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, they are the states having low corona deaths. This is the table for the composite score of various socio-economic indicators in various states and union territories. So all the states and unities have been categorized into 3 categories. 8 states and union territories having Z-score below minus 0.40 are considered to be having low socio-economic development. 19 states and union territories having Z-score between minus 0.40 and 0.18 are considered to be having medium socio-economic development, and 8 states and union territories having Z-score above 0.18 are considered to be having high socio-economic development. So this is the map for the socio-economic development. We can see from this map that states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal, and Delhi as well. These are the states having high socio-economic development. States like Gujarat, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Assam, Sikkim, they are having medium socio-economic development. And states like Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Jammu and Kashmir, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, they are having low socio-economic development. So this map shows the relationship between socio-economic development and total corona cases. So this can be seen from this map that states having higher socio-economic development like Maharashtra, Delhi, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, they have recorded higher corona cases. States like Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, Odisha, Bihar, Assam, they are having medium socio-economic development and have recorded medium corona cases. States like Jammu and Kashmir, Jharkhand, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, they are having low socio-economic development and they have recorded low corona cases. This is the map of showing the relation between total corona deaths and socio-economic development. Madhya Pradesh, having higher socio-economic development, has recorded higher corona deaths. States like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal, they are the states having high socio-economic development and have recorded medium corona deaths. States like Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, they are the states having medium socio-economic development and have recorded medium corona deaths. States like Jharkhand, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Jammu and Kashmir, they are having low socio-economic development and have recorded low corona deaths. This is the map showing the relationship between the total testing conducted and total corona cases. So this is evident from this map that the states who have conducted higher testing have recorded higher corona cases, and states who have conducted lower testing, they have recorded lower corona cases. So this is the causal analysis. As we saw that the developed states have recorded more corona cases. So the reasons being that number one, they have a higher number of testing labs which show their higher testing capacity, that is the resource availability. Secondly, they have conducted higher testing. Thirdly, they are highly urbanized. So more urban population means more population density, and if population density is more, the chances of the spread of corona becomes higher. Fourthly, they have higher number of elderly people owing to better medical and healthcare facilities. More than 50% of cases have occurred in the people above 60 years of age. People in these states have higher per capita income, and as a result, they can easily afford the costs of testing, which poor people cannot afford. Lastly, they have more literacy, which means more awareness, and as a result, these people went to the hospitals and got tested themselves. So these are the reasons which led to higher corona cases in developed states and vice versa. Conclusion. So the overall analysis of the study reveals that the southern states recorded higher corona cases, central and western parts of India recorded medium corona cases, extreme northern and northeastern parts recorded low corona cases. Southern, central, and western parts of India recorded medium corona deaths. Extreme northern, eastern, and northeastern parts recorded lower corona deaths. Southern states have high socio-economic development. Central, western, and northern parts of India have medium socio-economic development. Jammu and Kashmir, parts of central India, parts of northeastern India have low socio-economic development. 19 states have positive relation between socio-economic development and corona cases. 12 states have positive relation between socio-economic development and corona deaths. States having more testing labs, higher percentage of urban population, higher percentage of elderly people, higher literacy, higher per capita income, because they have recorded more number of corona cases and vice versa. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gyanendra. I think we have finished all the presentations. Can you stop sharing? Yeah, Gyanendra, yeah. Stop sharing, Gyanendra, yeah. Stop sharing, yeah. Gyanendra, please.
Sir, I have stopped sharing.
Oh, it is still showing, screen is showing. It's yeah, it's not showing. Yes, it's still showing that it's sharing. Yeah, can the IT cell, IT office, can the
Is it
help
still
it?
showing?
Sir, already stopped the sharing, sir.
So Gyanendra, can you just stop sharing, withdraw?
Sir, all,
Sir, I stopped sharing.
But the screen is still showing.
No, Dasha Baba.
Yeah, please.
We can see you.
Razi,
You can see.
खत्म हो गया.
Okay, no problem. So now, now all the 4 presentations are interesting. We have finished the presentation. We'll have some time for this discussion. Professor Archana, sorry, Professor Aparajita can quickly give a critical review. Then we'll go for question and answer any time. Okay. Professor Aparajita, you want to give critical comments? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Dustin. And I congratulate all the presenters for presenting interesting topics, varied topics. A few comments, whatever I have understood from your presentation and abstract. First was done by Anjali. Yeah, Anjali, good paper. You talked about COVID-19 response model, and then you have taken 3 states. One is from EAG, one is from non-EAG, one is from Northeast. And you have talked about the strength, weakness, opportunity, threat of all the 3 states separately. My only comment is that, yes, we definitely need state-specific strategies. But as you are concluding that there should be different policies for different states, remember one thing, state is always, health is always a state subject. Right, so every state should be proactive to take their decision how to handle this epidemic. One common mandate should be given by the central government that they have done, but how a state will handle the condition, it completely depends on state. Like for example, MP situation was quite bad at the initial stage because of problem in the governance. There were no elective CM that time when Corona just broke. So that was one of the major drawbacks of MP because it started late. Yes, you talked about epidemiological vulnerability, demographic vulnerability, socioeconomic vulnerability. Fine. Better to put these things in terms of numbers. When you are saying that MP is having socioeconomic vulnerabilities, I think you have already explained in your paper. You should talk on what basis you are saying this. Like Nagaland, demographic vulnerabilities. Your data will speak why you are coming to that conclusion. So you add more data and add more empirical evidence to support what you are saying. That is the only comment on your paper. Next was on Prakash. It was on, I think, analysis of census data in Tiruchirappalli district. It's good work, and I think it's supported by UGC, funded by UGC. My comment, maybe with my limited understanding, I'm giving this comment, that how do you decide about a cutoff when you are making an index, especially in context of Corona? For example, I'm talking about density. You are in the map, you are showing high density, low density, right? But you don't know up to what density it is good for addressing Corona. Whether high density would be good or low density would be good. We do not have very strong directives. For example, rural area is having comparatively lower density. They are having lower Corona. So density at what point you are making the cutoff is I would like to know how to form the index for rooms and house condition, density or crowding in the house. I can understand in context of an epidemic. But illiteracy, another example, illiteracy. How will you do it? More illiterate is good for Corona. More literate is good for Corona. There must be some justification in forming the index. Okay. Next is Dr. Sahu. It was on mainly the unorganized sector work in Odisha. Though you have highlighted many aspects on India as well. The drawback of your paper is you talked very less on Corona. You talked about workers. You talked about different categories of informal work. You talked about regional inequality in the informal work. But suddenly you made comments that migration happened, Corona affected. What is the empirical evidence from your study? Perhaps you have not focused on that aspect too well here. This session is on Corona, so we expected that you will talk more on Corona rather than informal work per se. Okay. Okay, next is Mr. Chauhan's paper. Somebody is, can you mute all the speakers?
IT section. Yeah, IT section, some sound is coming. Can you mute the person?
Yeah, regarding the last paper of Mr. Chauhan, little surprising when you are talking about socio-economic development. When you are forming the index, UP is at par with southern states. On what basis we have done the index? UP, based on any government document, is not at par with southern states. Gujarat, Punjab, your index is keeping Odisha, Bihar, Gujarat, Punjab on the same plane. Difficult to accept, especially when there are so many statistics, so many classification of Indian states and districts as per the available data. Your data is showing something very, very contrasting, especially in terms of socioeconomic development. COVID, we all are aware of the state situation. So my apprehension is that something is wrong in the formation of the index. And why you are giving so much emphasis on the Z-score. That also we would be happy to. Thank you.
Professor Aparajita, for your reviewing the papers and giving the comments for each paper. Now the session is open for discussion and comments, feedbacks from the participants, audience. So it is now open to everyone. So anybody wants to ask any question to all the four presenters are now present. I will request Ms. Anjali, Mr. Prakash, Mr. Dr. Sivasankar Sahu and Gyanendra. Please be present, and we are now looking for the audience for the any questions, any comments, any feedbacks, any clarification. Okay. So anybody wants to ask question, you can unmute yourself and please ask questions from the audience. Yeah. Anybody?
So this is Prakash.
Yeah, Prakash, please. Yeah, please.
Sir, I thank. I just wanted to begin with thanking IIPS team for giving this opportunity. But lately I was having network issues, and I was so much curious to know from Dr. Aparajita Madam about my topic, but unfortunately I was not able to hear it from Madam. Madam, if you can send me a few lines about my presentation or the topic that I was talking about, it will be very much helpful to further tune my research. Thank you, Madam.
Yeah, Dr. Prakash, your analysis is very interesting, and I think it is supported by UGC SAP funding. Few points that I raised just for my understanding that how are you making an index? Yeah, your map is very clearly visible. And most of the cases, the indicators that you were talking about, for example, literacy. If you're showing illiteracy, the other map will show you just opposite hotspots or cold spots, right?
Yes,
like density in the household, whatever you are showing less than one, more than one, or the higher side will just show the opposite. So first of all, it is better to show only one map. One map is more than sufficient because the distribution is 100. If you show one map, we will get to know the other side. Number two is that when you are making the index, for example, for making any index, we need to know what is good and what is bad. If the index increases, whether it is good or whether it is bad. In case of corona, there are lack of support or research till date. For example, if I say illiteracy, suppose. Now, would you be saying that literacy is good to address corona? Or illiteracy is bad to address corona? I don't know. Rural areas still have much less fatality rate, much less cases of corona. They are more illiterate. So at what level you are taking the cutoff? Same is for density. For example, in Bombay, when corona broke initially, the slums were affected. But in the later phase, it is the non-slum area, which is relatively less dense, that got affected. So on what basis you will say that higher density is bad? So one index should be very clear-cut when you are forming a comprehensive value. So whether with increasing that X unit, my Y will also increase. So that conceptualization is perhaps missing in your analysis. This is what I said. But I like your analysis at the very small level. You use the census data. Some refinement is perhaps required in formation of it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks. Any other question? Anybody in the audience? I could see many of my colleagues and my friends in IIPS, Dr. Asraf, and many of the names I could see. Yes. Anybody wants to ask any question? Dr. Sajini or so many are there. So any of them want to ask any question, any comments? Nice to see all of them after a long time. I couldn't see them, but at least I see the names in the and the displayed attendees. I'm very happy to see. Yeah, any question, anybody from the audience? Dr. Ashraf Abdul Salam, yes? Anybody?
That's up.
Yes, yes.
Professor,
Yeah,
Professor
please.
Gupta. Professor Gupta is also here, I think.
Dr. Gupta, yeah.
Kamla Gupta.
Yeah, Kamala Gupta madam is here. Yes. The madam want to say anything? Any comments? Kamala Gupta madam, are you able to hear me?
I am able to hear you, but I have not present throughout the session.
Tell something. Tell something.
It was not very clear. I heard the thing properly. The audio was not good. It was echoing, so I.
Okay, okay. So, okay, fine. No problem. Nice to see you. Nice to listen to you. Hope everything's fine. Okay, anybody else would like to comment anything? Anybody from the audience and participants? Yeah? No? Anybody's? I think we are not hearing anything. I think all this, there is no question, then you can, I can little bit speak about it, but I want to speak just to others instead of me. So, anybody? Ashraf, Dr. Ashraf Abdul, I want to hear from you. Dr. Ashraf Abdul Salam, I want to hear you. Hear from you, Ashraf. Are you able to hear me? Ashraf, Dr. Ashraf. Yes, yes, Ashraf. Make your video on. I want to see you. Ashraf.
Hello, Dr. Kailash Das.
Yeah, please make it.
Nice to see you. And
Make
keep
your
going.
video.
Congratulations.
Make your video on. I cannot see you.
Yeah, we will do it a bit later, not now. All right.
Okay,
It's
okay.
a nice session. It's a good session. Very well done.
Okay. Thank you. Nice to see you after a long time. After 30 years. 30 years. Nice. Okay. Anybody else in the audience? Panelists? Any question for anybody? No? Yeah. Okay. If there is no question, I think all the four presentations as Dr. Appraisal already summarized. I need not go into detail all the presentations. I think these four presentations were quite good. They have done a good work, but still there is scope for improvement. As Dr. Appraisal already pointed out in his paper wise. And the paper on that SAP and Anjali was quite good. They have given a comparative analysis between the three states, MP, Telangana, Nagaland, and good. They have done a SWOT analysis, but still there is scope. They can still further improve. Dr. Operator told that they have not given much empirical analysis, so we can give some more empirical data relating the COVID situation in this state and how they handled it, the spatial variation. Even the COVID data is available at district levels. District level data is also available in the website. One of my students recently, she is an correspondence course student. She has done analysis all India, the district levels, and the doubling time, how much time it took to lock in to the end of lockdown, lifting of lock-in period, lockdown periods, all these have done, so we can do that. Prakash ji has done a good job, and he has got a funding from UBC and ICCSR, and he has done a good job on using the household data and demographic data in Tiruchirappalli district in Tamil Nadu, and good that he has used during mapping. Still good work, but still he can improve with comments on it. And Dr. Sivasankar, Odisha has done a good example because as far as the COVID measures are concerned, I was reading a lot of media articles, media newspapers that Odisha, the people from Odisha and government of Odisha have done very commendable jobs as far as the COVID situation and the lockdown and the protection of the people school and how to stop the infection, and not only the humanitarian food, shelter, all those things. Everybody said about Odisha. So when most state in India had decided lockdown, Odisha was the first state to declare lockdown. I think that you can integrate some of the data now related to COVID and the migrant, the situation of migrant which came from other states. So you can little bit, you have done the regional disparity, etc. You have done a spatial analysis, very good. But if you can integrate with the COVID data, because this special session is on COVID. So try to integrate little bit. Odisha is a very exemplary state as far as COVID management is concerned. I think you can do a good job to still improve it. And the last one that Gyanendra has done a good job geographical analysis of COVID-19 in India. He has done at the national level, so he has tried to do it. Still, even being a master degree student at Aligarh Muslim University, has done a good job. But still, you can still improve on the basis of the comments the professor has given. So before we wind it up, again, I will see that if there is any question, any comment from the audience, I will try to give them scope and I will try to encourage them. Otherwise, we can wind up the session. The next session will start at 3:30. So if there is any question, anybody, I will also request Dr. Kausalendra, if you want to say something, put any comments. My colleague Kausalendra, if he's there, if you want to say something or put some more comments. Dr. Kausalendra, you are there, you have left. I think he has left. Kausalendra is there. Yeah. Okay. If there is no question, Kausalendra is here. Kausalendra, anything you have to say? Anything, any comments, any remarks? Dr. Kausalendra? Okay. Okay, if there is no question from the audience, let us give a big hand to all the 4 presenters. I give a big hand. Let us clap for all the big hands for all the 4 presenters. They did a good job and they've got the comments. They can improve the papers. So thank you, everybody. Dr. Manoj, you can wind up the session here. Dr. Manoj. Okay, we are well behind the time, well within the time. Still 5 minutes is there before 3:30. So we are winding up the session. Dr. Manoj, okay? Dr. Manoj. I have not signed. You sign it here. Yeah. So Dr. Manoj, you are winding up. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thanks. Session is over now. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Bye bye.